Well, hello, and you're most welcome back to Gmodism in Satisfactory. This time, in the beautiful little rainy evening, we're finally going to tackle the plastic and rubbers issue. Because as you do already know, we sent up some stuff in the space elevator, which has made it so that we have unlocked new capabilities. And if you don't know about that, please check my previous video, and you'll know all about that. Also, if you want to support the channel, there are links in the description. We have some cool merch which I designed myself, and if you think that looks cool, you can support me by buying that, and if you think it doesn't look cool, please tell me so I can remake that. In any case, huge thanks to Commander Ike the Boaster, Commander Aegean, Lieutenants Asteria, Powered by Grid, Tyler Russ, LCG Canyon, and Vincent Veritas, who are supporting the channel over at Patreon. Thanks a lot! So, here we have it, oil processing. So, we unlocked tier 5, and here we have oil processing, industrial manufacturing, alternative fluid transport, gas mask. Well, we're of course going to, we need to unlock oil processing. This is an early and easy thing to unlock. So, we're going to select this milestone, or we're gonna put in the materials, and unlock. Launch. Very nice.
Milestone reached. Oil acquisition and refining unlocked.
So, that is now very nice. We have now unlocked that, which means we got an oil extractor. This is what we need to use to get oil. And just as is the case with metals and all the other resources, we need a special resource point where we can pick up the oil. We can't dig anywhere. It's the same. Yeah, as the miners basically. Then we also have the refinery, and the refinery is the thing that's responsible for, well, refining the oil into something else. So, you might understand we'll need a couple of engines, motors, to actually build these things. So I would recommend you to probably go to your motor factory and stock up on a couple of engines before we go out and adventure. Whoops. So basically, make sure you got all the materials we probably need. Let's see here. Here I got my motors. Well, let's have 2 stacks of them. We are pretty sure to actually get that. So oil extractor, 15 of them. We need a couple of encased industrial beams too. And I can see I'll need to pick up some more cables. Right, I stocked up on a couple of materials. By the way, there are probably some new things in shop here. So, whenever you made a major unlock and stuff like that, it can be a good idea to browse through the, well, this here. So here we have coated concrete foundation. Well, look there, because we had plastic, we can unlock that. Isn't that quite nice? Now we have the ability to make plastic. So it can be a good thing to check through here and see if there's anything new we want. And as I've shown you to make some pretty efficient setup to gain coupons and stuff like that, if you just follow my tips and leave them on, you should have a good couple of them. Here you can see I got 30 coupons. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? So we're probably gonna buy some stuff, but I'm gonna leave that a little bit for later. Right. Now we need to search for our new oil materials. So we just go to the V menu and search for crude oil. We're gonna see where we have crude oil here by looking at the map. And there is the closest source. So perhaps we should set a little new map marker. We're gonna have infinite, highlight the marker, and select it to be something like that. Very nice. There we go, new marker. There is where we need to go. So now I immediately can see we're going upwards, we're going to this direction. And I'm probably gonna make sure that I actually bring some power with me. If you wanna see how exactly far it is, you can of course just go up here, click your ping button, which is Alt mouse 1 or something. I don't quite remember. What I did is I bound my ping button to, oh crap, Okay, we got a situation here. Anyways, I bound my I bound my button for pinging to like mouse 3 or something like that. No, mouse 4 it is. And that's super handy because then I can ping without needing to press a combination of buttons or anything like that. Quite nice. I'm just gonna deal with this. Right, so I brought the power with me away here. We're just going to swim to the other side and we're just gonna check out the area here. Because here is of course where we have the oil. By the way, if you didn't do that, please bring some biofuel and your chainsaw, because you probably want to clear the area of all this pesky foliage. Alright, I cleared up some space here, and I cleared up a lot of inhabitants, as we can see here. In any case, stashed up some stuff there. I drawn power and I drawn a little simple bridge to where we go. Just 16 meters wide. Pretty small one by, well, Satisfactory standards. So, there is a slight sparkle on where the resources are, but for the untrained eye, it might be a tiny bit difficult to even see where the oil actually is, except that we know it's here. So we're just gonna run a little scan here, and we can see the different locations hover up here. We're gonna make sure this is a normal one. Oh, and there we got the pure one. So here we have the oil extractor, we got the resources for it. We can plunk it down here, connect it up to power, and we can see how much it will output. Now this is a pure source, so this gives us 240 meter square per minute, which is a lot. Which makes me also want to check even the logistics here. 300 meters square, right? So we can extract it with the Mark 1s. That's good. And I just realized in these early stages of plastic and rubber production, we won't be getting the big production running yet. That's because there are actually two routes, I think, to make oil. And you can see 240 square meters per minute. That's a lot. Like, we won't need it here. We can probably occupy one less important source for this. Because when we go to production, we're just gonna plonk down a refinery here in the middle of it. You can see they're pretty big, by the way. They have some big chimneys there. There are two routes of doing this manufacturing. And the one way is to make rubber and plastic from crude oil directly. And if we do that, we get something called heavy oil residue. The other way is to make fuel. And then we get polymer resin as a residue. And then we can use this polymer residue to make residual plastic and residual rubber. And this is usually the way I prefer to make them. But to do that, we need to use a ton of fuel. And we won't be needing to make a ton of fuel at all. No, we won't. By the very simple fact that the fuel, we can use that to generate power, but that's a later unlock. So later there will be something called a fuel generator. So what we basically are going to do is we are in this early stages going to make plastic and oil from crude oil directly, and we're going to produce some residuals. And we can do some residual fuel in order to perhaps get some fuel for our jetpacks, and we can also do some petroleum coke from this residual product, and that can be used to power coal power plants, for example, actually. So here we have another opportunity to make a power generation plant at this area. All right, so I forgot to say before I continued, so I redid some stuff, and here is the new bridge and the new platform, and well, nothing really changed for you. So this is a nice little thing here. I looked around to the different sources, there, and there. And two of the sources are normal, and this one over here, that's a pure one. So the pure one we're going to save for some better use, because the pure one we can use to make some really more efficient, better rubber and plastic. So, you know, we will make a big factory later on, but at this point we just need to get some basic production going, and it's important that you have that, and it's always good to have a backup production. So we're not gonna remove this when we don't rely on it completely. We're just gonna have it. Can be a good way to have some extra sources of plastic and rubber, and if not, we can't use them, well, we'll just sink them. Very nice. So basically we want to use a normal or a impure source for this. If you have an impure source, now I don't have one, I only have my normal, you can do half the setup I'm doing in this little video, but basically I'm gonna use this normal one, that's what I got, and I'm gonna leave this facility running. I'm not gonna change this when I put this down. I'm gonna make it look nice from the start, because nothing is really temporal in Satisfactory. Most of the time you just leave your things. So we're gonna put down, or at least I do, that's my experience. So here we have it. Here we have that little thing. We can connect it up to some temporary power like this, so we can see it start to run. Now we can see it's extracting, and we have an extraction rate of 120 meters squared. And that is something, of course, we would be okay with an impure source. What this basically means is that we have to adjust our production size to the source. And if you do a pure one, go ahead, you can do a pure one using this. But later on, as mentioned a little bit quickly before, I would probably do fuel and do some plastic and rubber with residue. So that's the different two ways to do plastic and rubber. And I don't know about real life, of course, but I kinda imagine that this type of production where we make plastic and rubber directly from crude oil would probably be, you know, whenever you find rubber and plastic that like smell really bad and chemically, and it feels like it was cheaply made and you don't want to touch it, it feels like that. And when we do fuel first and use the residual to make plastic, that feels a little bit more like, you know, the types of plastic that are approved to use with like foodstuffs. Anyways, that's just my imagination. Who knows? So anyways, we're going to go over at production, and we're going to put down some refineries. And I'm going to measure out around where I want my refineries. We want some space for the output, we want some space for the input, but I'm gonna pack them pretty tightly here. Stacking onto each other like this. We can't clip them or anything like that, we'll just have to stack them properly. Very nice. As you might remember, this is 120 per minute. And what does this mean? 120 per minute divided by 4, 30. So that's why we spawn 4 machines. That's exactly how many machines we need. And if you have an impure source, well, then you'll just use one of these and one of these, one making plastic, one making rubber, and that's your facility. If you want to do this with a pure source, if you want to get some real heavy production of plastic and rubber from the get-go, well, do 4 machines making plastic and 4 machines making rubber. That's fine too. Well, in any case, what we're gonna do, we set this up, it's making rubber. This one is also making rubber. This one is making plastic. And this one is also making plastic. So 30, 30, so 40 plastic per minute, and well, 30, 30, so 40 rubber per minute. So they're kind of equal in terms of the production rate. The only thing that's different here is that the heavy oil residue is 10 per minute, and here we have 20 per minute. So that's like 40 plus 20. So 60 per minute, we have 60 oil residue per minute. We're gonna need to do something with that, because otherwise it just, you know, it's just gonna be pretty stuck. We can check that out, by the way. If we wanna do petroleum coke, well, we can do 40 per minute. And if we overclock that, we only need one machine, and we can take care of all this waste and put this petroleum coke with some coal power plants, or possibly something else. I don't know. I'm not sure I want to do a coal setup here, but we'll see. Maybe I'll do that. Anyways, I'm gonna connect up all of them to power in a way that looks nice. By the way, I'm going to make some little tutorials that has been requested before on how to make nice design. I don't consider myself one of the really good designers in Satisfactory, but at some, you know, beginner, easy starter people or medium range people that are playing Satisfactory, some of you have commented and think that my designs look pretty nice, so I am going to make an episode where I try to teach a little bit about my designs. And I'm just gonna give you a tiny little tip here, and that's to use different materials for foundations. So here we have, you know, regular concrete, and here we have some asphalt, and inside here we have this new like foundation thing that I really like. And then just to mix up where we have like stripes. So stripes work really good with elements in this game, so we can have different materials for well, different sections of the wall. So half of the building is kind of glass and the other half is structured like this. And another little tip is that as long as you put your machines in a nice orderly fashion, you don't always have to hide them. They can look pretty cool. So one tip can be to actually display the machines more. Display the pipes, display the machines so they look really cool. And you can do that sometimes, not always, and then you can like box them up completely at other times. So you get a kind of little variation. Because when it comes to it, the machines in this game look really beautiful. Well, I'm going to continue building this, and one little thing I'm going to go here, and that's if you haven't unlocked the beams, I would really do that. They're really cool. We can see we can put some corners here. Painted beam it is. And we're gonna do like this. And now we have a beautiful little entrance. It kind of looks sturdy. It doesn't look flimsy and weird. It looks pretty proper. I don't know if I'm gonna use this, but I'm thinking perhaps I'm gonna have a truck loading station or something in here so I can drive in with a truck and load it up. Maybe not, probably not, we'll see. Any case, I'm gonna continue building this facility. Alright, so we're progressing a little bit here. Here is the extractor. Well, not too much have happened. What I've been doing is I've added a line here, and what I wanted to show you, if you have forgotten, if you don't get the nice pipe shapes you want, you'll need to click R until you get vertical. And then you can put them up like that. And if you want to line them up really straight, just like in the coal power plant video, hold Control, and they'll just snap into exactly where they need to be. Very handy indeed. And we got the beautiful lemon color with my little peach and sky blue theme. In any case, what I also wanted to remind you a little bit about, that when these machines produce they will sometimes they will tug the oil. They will use that batch and then produce, and then they'll need the next batch. So basically, it won't be flowing smoothly necessarily into them if they are somehow in sync or whatever. There is a risk things kind of get out of sync, or not out of sync, that they are in sync in a way that you kind of overload the production a little bit. If you make, like I make all these little videos and tips, that we actually make them to be completely perfectly balanced so that they are 100% efficient, because of course that's what we do. So since we are having that system, it can be a smart idea to have a fluid buffer so it can fill up in the meantime, and then when it's full, you know, all the machines can draw as much as they need. And if we get out of power, there is still, you know, there is a buffered zone so that they don't get out of sync. Most usually, you don't actually need this, but from time to time, you actually do. So we might as well add one of these here, very cheap, just adding a little buffer here, and then we avoid this problem from, you know, we can guarantee this problem won't happen basically. I added this little walkway using this as stairs, because do you remember in earlier episode where I show you can actually snap these catwalks onto machines? Well, look back a few episodes if you missed that. And right now, you can see it's going to, we of course don't want to boost this one, 30 per minute, that's quite enough. And we can see this one has started to fill up, and it has started to produce plastic already. That is quite nice indeed. So when this is full, I guess it will, oh, I didn't connect them up down here. Yeah, all of them need to be connected up, sorry. Well, in any case, our production is going, and we are going to look at sorting out the output section. You can see like this, getting filled up. Check your numbers again, 30, 30, 30, 30, very nice. We're producing rubber and plastic very nicely, 40 per minute in total, so we're a great little starting facility here. So now we need to deal with the heavy oil residue, and again we'll need to check our numbers here a little bit. 20, 20, 10, 10. And of course it's very easy to take a machine here and just change it. If you need more plastic or more rubber, or if you don't want it to be balanced, maybe you want this entire facility to produce plastic, well, you can do so. And you'll need to adjust the output capabilities accordingly. Well, in any case, we're going to do some regular conveyor belts to just output this from here, and we'll need to do some nice outwards piping to, well, basically deal with this heavy oil residue. Putting them in a container and flushing it from time to time, nah, doesn't really cut my standard. We're going to deal with it properly from the get-go. By the way, before you start making this little facility, make sure you check you have enough power, because a refinery requires 30 megawatts and an oil extractor requires 40. So 30, 30, 30, 30, that's 120 megawatts plus 40, 160, I guess that is. Yeah. So you better just check the power here. We can see. Now you can see the consumption and the production is almost the same here. So I think we may actually be stealing a little bit from our batteries, which we have built up in earlier episodes, so we should be fine, but we probably need to increase our power production a little bit over here. So yeah, we're gonna use some of this petroleum coke, it seems. So when you're setting up this facility, you'll need to check a little bit thing here. Look at the refinery and you see allows fluid to be transported 10 meter upwards. This basically means from this level 10 meter upwards, this is 4, and with another one, so that's like, if it was up here, that would be possibly a little bit too high. That would be 10, I guess, because this is like 1 plus 4, yeah. Anyways, if you're building more than 10 meters, if you want to transport it up again, you can see I connected up the heavy oil residue here. It's coming out of the machines, it's going up to this pipe. If this was too high, you of course need to put some pipeline pumps to help push it up. You'll notice if it doesn't flow correctly too, but if your machines aren't efficient and you're transporting them a little bit too much upwards, more than 10 meters to be specifically, then it can be a good idea to check that. And in this refinery, we're going to make petroleum coke, and we're gonna set up some temporary coal power plants here to cover our basic needs. Now, I'm actually gonna change this later. I'm going to use some of the plastic later, and I'm going to make fuel, residual fuel, and I'm gonna package the fuel and send it back home again, so I have for our future jetpack. But right now, we're going to have a temporary coal production. So the coal production we're going to make is not gonna be very pretty, just so you know. But in any case, we're gonna connect up this thing, and as you can see here, we are going to set it to petroleum coke. If you remembered, we have 10, 10, 20, 20, that's 60. So we'll need to get rid of 60 residual fuel per minute. Now, if we produce fuel here, that's exactly how much we'll need. But when we're doing petroleum coke, we only use 40, so you can have one and another one at half speed. But I'm gonna be a little bit lazy. I'm just gonna overclock this one, and we're gonna produce 180 petroleum coke per minute. So I'm gonna get some copper sheets. Right, so I actually just picked up some local copper and made a couple of sheets. So it's now connected up, overclocked and ready. We're now producing petroleum coke here. Very nice. And we'll quickly notice if this is a balanced setup or not. And of course we need to deal with the output of the rubber and the plastic too. But as you can see here, we are outputting some petroleum coke here. Very nice. Alright, so you can see I have rearranged the pipes for cosmetics only. So that I can have my little output of goods here. Now, since we're producing, what is it, 40 plus 40, so 80 parts per minute, it would suffice with a Mark II belt, but I'm using my Mark III belt here, just because I have more of that resource on hand. And also, it gives some space to output more materials later on. So, basically, we have the production running there. We are going to put a little box here in the end, just to collect up some materials. There we go. I think we're gonna have a little. We're just gonna have a little temporal storage here. I always say that, and it never ends up being that case. But whatever. We're gonna have some temporal storage there. Probably it will be temporal. Let's hope. So we're now producing, and we are amounting and collecting a big bulk of well, what is it? Petroleum coke, as well as heavy oil residue. So of course we would need to empty this to keep the production going. Otherwise it gets full here and production gets stopped. In any case, since we're producing this 180 petroleum coke per minute, we need to put down some, well, power plants that are actually using this materials. Because we'll need to spawn a proper one here to even check the power. As you can see here, we are taking a little bit more than we're producing. Of course, our production is within the limits. And that is because, I think that's actually because our biomass burner battery. So yeah, we don't have infinity here. We'll need to get down some coal power plant to, well, get it running. Now we won't go through the coal power plants in detail. We have a dedicated video for that if you want to check that out. That can probably be pretty useful. We're not gonna make this perfectly either, of course. We're just gonna make it a little bit like this is going to be a temporary setup for real. This is not any type of effort here. This is just a quick little way to get them producing. Insert here and insert there, and we're actually producing, let's say, 180 per minute, and of course we cannot burn that much, can we? What we can do is to burn 60 here. Oh, look here, 60 here. I'm kidding. We can actually burn all of this. Perfect. I didn't know that. Because if you didn't... now I'm holding control and clicking these power rods here. That's how I fill them up so quickly. Drag it up. So 62 per unit. How much water do we need then? 113 square meters. Okay. Well, in any case, if you're wondering why I'm excited, that's because 60 times 3 is of course 180, but we're using a little bit more than 180. So we are going to use all of this. Now this is a setup that requires insane amounts of power shards, of course, and again, this is a temporary setup. Let's see here, how much did we resource? Not enough deep, really now. Well, in any case, we're going to get up some temporary power production here just to make this thing running before we can make some fuel instead and package it and send it home. Alright then, so here we have it, water pump going there, really boosted water pump going here and there. Like this is a temporary setup. I think looking at the previous coal power plant video, you should be able to make this abomination yourself as well. So that should be no issue. Let's just connect up it a little bit temporary here. Is this a smart splitter? No, it's a regular splitter. Alright, so what's happening here? The water is starting to flow in. Isn't this quite beautiful? And here we can see the production is going up. It's starting to feed in the coal. Oh yes, the facility is running. The facility is running indeed. Very nice. Ah, look at that. This mega boosted setup. This is like crazy. Of course, we're using 9 power shards for these 3 coal power plants. So if this was a normal coal power plant setup, this would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5. 7.5 of these equivalently, approximately like that. So this little temporary boosted setup is like a larger setup, of course. So there we have it. Look at that capacity. Now we shouldn't be using any of our biomass battery either. If you want to know what that is, please check out my power episode. And as always, this is a serious. I keep saying this, but that's because a lot of you are only watching one video and you're like confused at some details. And I will tell you why you're confused about some details. That's because I don't try to repeat myself too much. So it's a serious. If I covered something before, I will cover it only lightly and in an episode after it, because I will assume that viewers that are really needing, that are really new to the game and need some hand-holding, I will assume that they have watched all of the earlier episodes. In that way, we can make it a tiny little bit more efficient. Well, in any case, this facility is now running nice like that, and these numbers should be slowly but surely ticking up to a little bit of a more efficient level there. And there we have it. Everything should be set up and fine. So let's do a little quick tour of our facility. I tried to make it look pretty decent. They're reaching out and doing, well, producing materials now, and I think most of the machines have closed in on 100%. Yeah. Very nice, good enough. So here we have an access way, so of course we want them to be easily accessible between the different units here, so we can change them up if we want to produce something else or whatever we want to do. Remember that you might need to change the output on what you're doing with the output, dependent on you're only producing rubber or only producing plastic or whatever you're doing. So I set up a nice open interior here, try to use some different shapes to get some nice space. Of course, this thing is using a lot of residual fuel and outputting this petroleum coke to our temporary coal setup. That doesn't look nice, but they do save us power-wise right now. I just wanted to make it so that we can walk up here, get a nice view of the factory. I'm actually pretty happy with this design. Get down on the roof, and this particular unit we have enclosed completely to get some variability there. And there the units come out, so we do produce now plastic and rubber pretty nicely. So this is of course our first little initial setup of plastic and rubber. So, you know, we're gonna produce some more later on. But right now, this is a great start. This will, of course, we're gonna leave this facility. It's a complete and full facility. It's gonna run probably for the rest of this game. Some of the plastic might be rerouted and be used to package fuel, because I'm thinking we're going to send home some fuels that will power our jetpack. And one thing that's really good, if you're producing too much packaged fuel, it's a great thing to put in the sinks. And if you want to know about that, of course we have the Smart Sink episode. So do check out the playlist and consider watching this series. Maybe you want to have some company in the background. Put on the full playlist from episode 0 to episode 23, 4, 5, 6, 7? Which episode is it? I don't really remember, but it's in the title. In anyways, thanks a lot for watching. This has been your host, Gmodism, and do look at the links if you want to support the channel, you can do so. If not, I would be very happy if you'd leave a like or something like that. You can leave a like if you do support the channel too, I'm not against it. But as said, I'll see you next time, and this is your host, Gmodism. We have a Discord if you want to join there. We can talk some from the depth in there. But in any ways, this is your host, and we're signing out. Bye bye.